How's it going, y'all? Welcome back to Teach Yourself Cello. Today I would like to work on number 4, Scherzo in Suzuki Book 3. I'm going to demo it and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so I think the main thing that we're working on in this piece is our sauté bow stroke. And sauté is when we get to a certain speed where our bow just kind of skips on the string. So if we're isolating, just working on sauté bowing, we're just kind of experimenting and bringing our bow fast enough to get it to skip. So maybe start a little bit under the tempo that I was at. And on each string, see if you can, I know we don't use the C, but it's good practice. It's probably the most challenging to get that one to skip just because the C is the thickest string. So that's what we're going for. If you're not able to get that right away, don't be discouraged. It's just something that's you're going to have to develop. I was thinking about the motion. Ugh, my sauté isn't very good today. So if I'm looking at the end of my bow, like the tightening screw, if I'm doing this correctly, I'm moving in kind of a circular motion, like an oval. But I would say the other key element to this is just making sure you're nice and loose and relaxed with your right hand. Something you can practice for that is just kind of doing this motion. Okay, we're not going to be able to get the bow to skip if our arm is stiff and we're using our big muscles, to do that. Okay, so that's something you want to practice. I think it's difficult, or can be difficult, to coordinate the left hand with the all the 16th notes that we have. So I recommend just isolating, working on the 16th notes, the moving notes. So we would turn those 16ths into 8ths. So that's a good opportunity to practice adding bow weight for those crescendos and taking that bow weight away for the decrescendos. And then, once you get comfortable with left hand, then you can add in the 16ths. And the bow stroke that you want to use before you add in that sautille is just a really sticky staccato on the string. It's just going to make it that much more easier once we have that traction built in to do that sautille. Okay, let's keep moving forward. I think starting at 17, that's where, at least when I'm playing this, my bow starts to become disconnected from my left hand. So when we're moving between these notes, we want to stay as close as possible to the string. If we're doing that, it's going to be really hard to coordinate. But if we're closer, it's going to make life a lot easier. And I would recommend, if you want to film yourself or if you have a large mirror, you can kind of monitor your left hand as you play this. Maybe memorize that line starting at 17. Just watch your left hand and see if you're staying really close to the string. So we have a rit. We slow down into the minamoso. Remember to subdivide as you go into the minamoso. And what I mean by that is when you're playing that half note at 33, think about the 16th notes that live inside of that half note. So at 32, we're going 1 E and a 2 E and a, and I would still in your head think 1 E and a 2 E and a. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had students go right into this and play the half note like a quarter note and the eighth note's like 16ths. Okay, so that's subdividing, thinking of those 16th notes that live inside of the half note and saying those either out loud or in your head. That's going to really help with that transition. This whole minamoso section is legato. We want to vibrate a lot if you're working on that. And you'll notice that we have two fingering options here. So we have the ones that are printed above, and then we have some in parentheses. I would recommend practicing both, just to have some options when you're playing this. But yeah, this minamoso section should be legato and pretty. It's a contrast to our fast sautille sections. So the tempo one is similar to the beginning, and then we have this little outro section. So I think there's a tendency to speed this up towards the and while you could do that, I think the excitement is already built in here. So we have some new material that's rising up, and we have this crescendo, and then we have these harmonics at the end. So I don't think you really need to necessarily speed this up at the end to add any additional excitement. Let's talk about those harmonics at the end though. So you might have looked at those and been like, why are there half notes and quarter notes in the same measure? That is more than 2 measures. That's more than a 2/4 measure. So if you look really closely, you can see that the note head is kind of a diamond shape, and that is telling us that we're gonna play a harmonic, okay? So we're gonna put our 4th finger where we normally would for those notes. So we're gonna put our 4th finger in that second to last measure, where we would normally put D. Then in the last measure, where we would put G. It might take a little while just to build the muscle memory of landing in the exact spot that's going to be resonant. So I would recommend dropping your hand, trying to find it, and you can alternate between the normal fingered note and the harmonic note. Same thing with G. Notice that the sounding pitch for the harmonic isn't the same as the fingered pitch, right? And that's okay. It's supposed to be like that. So once you get comfortable with that, then I would recommend just isolating those last two measures. Okay, and then just slowly building that tempo. If you find that your harmonics are getting a little bit too squeaky, you can move further away from the fingerboard, and that'll get those to sound a lot less squeaky. All right, well, that pretty much covers it. So yeah, I would spend some time working on the saute. Isolate your left hand so that that's synced with your bow. Remember to subdivide as you go into the menamoso section, and then practice those harmonics at the end. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.